Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. माता जी इसके लिए कोई माता जी अंग्रेजी जानती हो अनुवाद कर सकती है. So we're going to do a different verse today. We're going to do 3:15:25. It's a long verse, so we'll just do the word meaning, translation, and purport. Okay, to save my breath, I'm requesting Rishi Kumar to do the reading. Start. Word meaning.
Yeah.
All right. Sanitizing the mic. Oh. You sanitize the air. Okay.
Hare Krishna. So we read from Canto 5, Chapter 13, text translation.
Let's go to the word meaning.
Yeah. What the word meaning? Translation proper by Srila Srila Gopal. Srila Gopal ki Saulira Patihi. The king of the state of Saulira. Abhi suddenly Sujana from an elevated person. Samavagata having completely understood. Paramatma Satatvaha, the truth of the constitutional position of the spirit soul and the super soul. Atmani, the big self. Avidya, erroneously attributed. Cha and Deha in the body. Atma Bhatin, concept of the self. Completely given. Evam, thus, he certainly, Rupa, O King, Bhagavan Ashrita Anubhava. The consequence of taking shelter of a devotee who has similarly taken shelter of a spiritual master in the Parampara system, one is sure to get out of the great nescience of the bodily concept of life. Translation. After receiving lessons from the great devotee Jambharata, King Rahugana of the state of Sauvira became completely aware of the constitutional position of the soul. He thus gave up the bodily conception completely. My dear king, whoever takes shelter of the servant of the Lord is certainly glorified, because he can without difficulty give up the bodily conception.
Purport.
As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22.54, Sadhu Sangha Chatrika, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhihaya. It is a fact that if one takes shelter of a pure devotee, one attains all perfection, even if the association is a short one. A sadhu is a pure devotee of the Lord. It has been our practical experience that the first instruction of our spiritual master infused us with Kṛṣna consciousness, so that now we are at least on the path of Kṛṣna consciousness and can understand the philosophy. As a result, there are many devotees engaged in this Kṛṣna consciousness movement. The whole world is revolving under the bodily conception. Therefore, there must be devotees all over the world to deliver people from the false bodily conception and fully engage them in Kṛṣna consciousness.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshudamritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadanigam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamlam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Mitam Tam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Mitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sudi Devi Pranamami Hare Vancha Kalpa Tarvyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Puritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna You can repeat the translation after me. After receiving lessons from the great devotee Jad Bharat, King Rahugana, of the state of Somalia, became completely aware of the constitutional position of the soul. He thus gave up the bodily conception completely. My dear king, whoever takes shelter of the servant of the Lord is certainly glorified, because he can without difficulty give up the bodily conception.
जिन बातों को हमें समझने आने के पीछे आंदोलन हो रहा है उत्तर प्रदेश को अनुवाद करना है फिर ऐसी अंतर लोचन प्रभु और
So, we have been hearing the wonderful pastime of Jad Bharat and King Rahugana for the past few weeks. Jad Bharat, as you know, was in his previous birth the son of he was King Bharat. He ruled over the planet, and people were so comfortable. The whole planet was known as Bharatvarsha. He retired, he went to the forest, and in the forest he practiced extreme austerities. But in the forest one day he saw a she-lion chasing a pregnant deer, and the mother died, leaving the offspring behind. He thought that this was the will of the Lord. So he started taking care of the baby deer. But unfortunately, he got so attracted that he would never let the deer be out of sight even for a minute. And one day when he was out of sight, searching for a deer, he died. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Wherever your mind is at the moment of death, that's the type of body you get. And the laws of nature are such that at the moment of death, your mind will generally be in the activities you have engaged in all your life. If, for example, you engaged all your life in playing sports, and at the moment of death you think you'll remember Krishna, that won't happen. But if you have been practicing Krishna consciousness, even though you may not have been perfect, you can still think about Krishna at the moment of death. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ante Narayana Smriti. Mold your life in such a way that you can think of Krishna at the moment of death. So he became a deer, but he didn't have to stay for long in that body. And he soon took his birth in a Brahmana's family. He was able to remember, due to his pious karma, that in his previous life he had made a mistake. He got excessively attached to a baby deer, and as a result of which he just had a birth in the body of a deer, and now he got a human birth. So he said, now I'm not going to repeat the same mistake. In English is a saying, once burned, twice shy. If you made a mistake once, then an intelligent man will make sure I don't repeat the mistake. So, King Rahugana was also a pious man. He was a king of Soviet, and he was going to hear a discourse in Kapila ashram. But on the way, King Rahugana ordered him, please help carry my palanquin. And he was forcibly taken into the service of the king. And the palanquin, instead of moving faster, moved slower. In olden days, palanquin was reserved only for royalty. So the king got very angry. Why are you pulling me, carrying his palanquin in such a foolish way? And he got chastised. Initially, Jat Bharat accepted it, but then he spoke. And when he spoke like a lion. Once a devotee asked Prabhupada in America, how can I be humble and distribute books at the same time? Because when you preach, you have to be a little forceful, aggressive. And people understand humility to mean speaking softly, saying namaste to everyone. So Prabhupada said, when you're preaching, you should be like a lion. And when you're dealing with Vaishnavas, then you be like a lamb. Lamb at home and a lion outside. So don't become a lion at home and lamb outside. So King Rahugana recognized, oh, what have I done? It's a big mistake. This man, the great sage, he's speaking such learned words. So he got down from his palanquin and surrendered to who? Surrendered to Jat Bharat. So in the last 3 chapters, Jat Bharat is explaining the philosophy of the soul. And Jat Bharat made him realize, today you may be very proud because you're a king, but tomorrow the tables could turn and I could be the king, you could be the palanquin carrier. So Jat Bharat spoke the philosophy, and when King Rahugana heard the philosophy, he realized he has made a great mistake. So in the last 3 chapters, Jat Bharat is explaining the philosophy. In the 12th chapter, Jat Bharat was requested by the king to elaborate on the philosophy He said, I spoke, heard, but I have not fully understood. So please elaborate. So in the 12th chapter, the King Jal Bharat elaborates on the philosophy, and he's continuing to elaborate in the 13th chapter also. In the 13th chapter, Jal Bharat said, this material world is like a wild forest. In this forest, there are plunderers, and there are jackals, and owls, and other types of animals. And as a result, nobody can find any real happiness. He says the material world is like a forest, wild forest, in which there are plunderers. Some of you may have experienced, you go to a forest, you walk on a secluded path, and you're always scared somebody may come and attack me, isn't it? So there are many plunderers. And Jal Bharat says, who are the plunderers? The eyes. The eyes is considered to be one of the plunderers. Why? The eyes are saying, give me something beautiful to see. There is something obscene to see. If you don't have spiritual culture, then you'll say, give me pornography to see. If you have spiritual culture, you'll say, oh, I want to put all the DD pictures in my cell phone. So the eyes are one of the plunderers. They plunder your intelligence. And even though you have intelligence, you get overshadowed. In the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa was questioned. How is one impelled into sinful acts even unwillingly? You want to do something wrong. You want to be careful. But still, the senses are so strong that they carry away even a man of intelligence. So Krishna said, it is lust only, the all-devouring enemy of the living entity, which is always burning like fire and is never satiated. Satiated means it is never satisfied. Just like if you have a pot of butter and you keep putting more butter in it, then what will happen? Will it get higher or the fire will go off? What will happen? It will go higher and higher. So, Krishna said, lust only the all-devouring enemy of the living entity. Then Krishna says, where is this enemy to be located? Just like sometimes you read in the paper, 20 terrorists have reached Delhi. Read just that much information is not enough. You have to know where this terrorist is hiding. You cannot place here, South Delhi, East Delhi. So Krishna says, this eternal enemy, where is he sitting? The mind and the intelligence and the senses. So Krishna has told you who is your enemy. Then he has told you where this enemy can be found. So what is the next step? What is the next step? How to cure this enemy. How to catch this enemy. So Krishna said, mind, intelligence and senses. Curb this enemy with the weapon of knowledge. So knowledge, jnana. Where do you get this knowledge? From the scripture. So Jal Bharat is giving knowledge, the result of which the king's attachment to the body, the king's realization, I'm the king, and anything with the body being smashed. So one of the plunderers in a wild forest are the eyes. And the eye should always be used for spiritual purposes. Then the tongue. The tongue is also one of the enemies. Actually, the tongue plays a very important role. Vachu vegam manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam udana pasa vegam. If you want to progress spiritually, you must control the tongue. The tongue is one of the plunderers. And generally, what does the tongue want? The tongue wants to speak without discrimination. The tongue wants to eat without discrimination. And in the Bhagavatam, 11th canto, you read the example of the fish. How the fish is greedy to eat. And when the fish goes to eat, and when the fisherman wants to catch a fish, he puts food on the bait, and the fish gets captured. So the Bhagavatam in 11th canto says, you won't become like the fish. And then you have the deer. The deer is very attracted to a particular melody. And when the hunter wants to capture a deer, he plays that melody. And the deer stops running. Oh, where is that melody coming from? And he meets his death. So these are, then you have the elephant, who is always trying to satisfy his sexual urges, and the moth. So these plunderers are always plundering. They are taking away our intelligence. And then Jadbhal said, you also have jackals and other animals also plundering you. He compares the other animals to wife, children, and relatives. The wife is always saying, buy me something new. This is not a good one. All my saris are old. I want something new now. So the poor husband doesn't have the money. But he says, beg, borrow, steal. I must make my wife happy. So they are plundering. Then the children, they say, buy more, more, more. In the Bhagavatam, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the original stories in the Bhagavatam, the summary is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So both are right. So, in the story of Avanti Brahman, there's a mantra there, the sannyas candidates sing. So this Avanti Brahman was very rich. He was a businessman, but very miserly, very conjuice. He will not give one paisa to anybody. And he will not even spend on himself. He will let the money pile up. It will give him great pleasure. His relatives all became his enemy. Wife said, what use is that money for me? He doesn't give me a penny to spend. And the children said the same. And the relatives also said the same. And then by the will of providence, the Brahman, he lost all his wealth. In the Bhagavatam, it is said that when you have wealth that you are not using in service of Kṛṣṇa, you make a lot of enemies. You want to know who the enemies are? The enemies are also the relatives. They say, you became rich by our mercy, you're not giving us any money. The government says, you become rich at our expense, pay your tax. And the Bhagavatam says, in Kali Yuga, every day the taxation is going to increase. The government government is one of the big plunderers. The government is also thinking, how can you get more and more taxes? It doesn't matter whether it's BJP or Congress. They're all thinking, how can we extract more promises? So the government also becomes your enemy. The thieves become your enemy. Have you ever heard of a thief stealing from a jhopparpatti? No. Always hear of thieves going to rich people. So the thieves also become your enemy. So you make a lot of enemies when you have wealth and you don't use it for Krishna. But if you use it for Krishna, Bhoktarami Agyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwara, then you are safe. So it is explained in this that this Brahman had so much money, he didn't use it, and by the will of providence, he lost everything. When he lost everything, initially, he was in a state of shock. I lost all the wealth I had. Now what will I do? But that initial renunciation, that initial sorrow led to renunciation. And then he became a Brahman, just traveled, glorifying Mukunda, having taken shelter. And even when people would laugh at him, they would say, oh, this man was a miser, now he lost all his money, we're doing bhajan. He was undisturbed. So the point is, when you are, the Jad Bharat is saying, when you are in the forest, as we said, we compare the material world to a very dense forest. And in the forest, you have plunderers. And who are the plunderers? The senses. The senses are plundering you. The eyes want satisfaction. The ears want satisfaction. The nose wants satisfaction. The tongue wants satisfaction. And the ears want satisfaction. But all these senses want satisfaction at the same time. Bhagavatam says, in the case of animals, it is one sense that is predominant. Just like a fish. A fish only has the tongue to satisfy mainly. The moth only has eyes to satisfy. But a human being who wants to satisfy all the senses at the same time. That's a big challenge. And Jad Bharat is saying, the plunderers are there, and then the relatives who are also trying to extract as much as they can. So Jad Bharat is pointing out how we should get out of the dense forest of illusion. The material world is a dense forest of illusion, in which we are born in ignorance, most of us live in ignorance, most of us die in ignorance. We often despair, oh my God, tremendous here. I was born in ignorance, but by the mercy of my spiritual teacher, I am now going to awaken to the real knowledge. So in today's verse, we see that the Jad Bharat is concluding his instruction. Jad Bharat has been giving instructions, and as I said in the previous chapter, the whole focus was on spreading to a bona fide servant of the Lord. In the 5th canto, you read about Lord Rishabhadev's teachings. And these verses in the 5th canto, chapter 5, are very important. Prabhupada used to regularly lecture from 5th canto, chapter 5. And Prabhupada used to regularly quote these verses. So the first verse, Lord Rishabhadev says, Nayam deha deha bhajam naloke. They don't waste his human life like the animal. But then he says, Mahatseva, unless you take shelter of a bona fide devotee of the Lord, unless you take shelter of the lotus feet of the devotee of the Lord, you will not be able to make spiritual advancement. In other words, You must take shelter not only of a devotee, but a servant of the devotee. And sometimes people say, yes, I'll take shelter directly of Krishna. I don't need any agents in the middle. But what is Lord Rishadev say? He says, no, unless you take shelter of the devotee of the Lord. In the third canto, you read about Lord Kapila and his mother. So the mother wanted to know, how can I free myself from this entanglement, that is the desire of every devotee? And what did the son say? By taking to the path of bhakti. But how do I get bhakti? Bhakti doesn't grow on a tree, you just go and pluck a flower and you get it. How do you get bhakti? How do you get bhakti? Who knows? By, Lord Kapila said, taking shelter of a devotee of the Lord. And then there are 5 verses in 3rd canto and 25 chapter which describe just one thing. Take shelter of a devotee of the Lord. Serve a devotee of the Lord. Ask how I can make spiritual advancement. Then you'll be able to make spiritual advancement. So that same theme has continued in this chapter, in the previous chapter. And now, Jat Bharat is summarizing the instructions that he has previously given. And in today's verse, what he is saying? King Rahugana became completely aware of the constitutional position of the soul. What is the constitutional position of the soul? Jive Sarupaya Krishna Nityada. The eternal, I am the eternal servant of the Lord. As it is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜𝐿 Krishna 𝐅𝐫𝐞𝐞. Krishna is the only master and all others are subordinate. What is the difference between a transcendentalist and a materialist? A materialist is thinking, this body is meant for enjoyment. This body is meant for material sense enjoyment. So let me try and enjoy it. What does Prahlad Maharaj say? He says, people do not know how real happiness can be found. Most people are thinking what? By gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, I'll be happy. Is that making people happy? Yes, no? This is just illusion. They're hoping against hope that they will find happiness. Just like if you look at the world today is in a more critical state than ever before. Even the biggest corporations, if you have a job, now the boss is saying, take half the salary or go home. So people say, okay, Papa, Adalino. Did you ever dream of that would happen? You normally expect salary raise every year. But now, the discussion is how much the salary should be reduced to get increased 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, and 50%. Even the biggest corporations of India today have done that. So, what is material life teaching us? We right now are worried about this virus. And everyone is anxiously waiting for the vaccination. And they are thinking, this vaccination is going to come by September, October. And then by November, everything will be business as usual. We'll take the vaccination, then we won't get sick, then we can go on with our enjoyment, and material sense enjoyment. But they may get vaccination, one virus may get control, then tomorrow there will be another. If you look at history, they had the Berlin flu, no, the Spanish flu. Spanish flu, they've had so many viruses, so many earthquakes, so many disasters. So therefore Krishna says, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜𝐿. Misery, everything is temporary. So, Jad Bharat has explained to King Rahugana. The King Rahugana is now fully convinced that yes, I was an illusion. I was an illusion, and you have very kindly removed my illusion. So, Maharaja Rahugana is very grateful to King Rahugana. Initially, Jad Bharat was recruited by force. Initially, King Rahugana was chastising Jad Bharat. But after he heard the philosophy, after he heard the philosophy spoken by Jad Bharat, King Rahugana recognized, I am an illusion. Like many of us who are in the movement, initially we had so many wrong concepts. But then when you practice Krishna consciousness, you understand what is the real thing. So Jad Bharat has been able to completely wake up King Rahugana. And then King Rahugana gave up his bodily conception. The bodily conception means identifying with the body and the senses. Constantly thinking, I must take care of this body. I must take care of the body, sense enjoyment. But as we explained last Sunday, and as you can see from the Bhagavatam, it doesn't matter how much you endeavor, there's no real material happiness. Someone may say, why does the Bhagavatam repeat the same thing again and again? This point that there's no happiness in the material world. It's come up so many times, isn't it? Or is it the first sloka? It comes up again. In this 5th canto alone, 2 chapters are devoted just to one theme: association, association, association. So Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita, repetition is necessary to drive the point home. If you hear again and again, that's why we should hear the Bhagavatam again and again. Read the Bhagavatam again and again. So King Rahugana became completely enlightened. Now, in the purport, what does Prabhupada say? Prabhupada quotes this famous verse from Madhya Leela: Sadhu Sangha, Sarvashasakaya. Madhya Sadhu Sangha, Sarvashasakaya. And Prabhupada gives the example in the purport of meeting his Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada's father, Gorman Dev, was a very pious man. He would regularly invite the Vaishnavas to his house. He would regularly take care of the Vaishnava, of the sadhus. He did not discriminate. He's a real sadhu or a fake sadhu. He would just feed everyone. So Prabhupada had a lot of exposure to sadhus. So when Prabhupada's friend told Prabhupada, I want you to meet a very special sadhu. This sadhu is very pure. Come and meet him. What did Prabhupada say? I met so many sadhus. I'm not impressed by either of them. But this friend said, no. This man is very special. So in Prabhupada's words, he virtually dragged me to meet Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in the very first meeting said, the very first meeting he could recognize, this is that sadhu, this is that candidate who will take Krishna consciousness to the whole world. Well, Lord Chaitanya had predicted the holy name would spread every town and village of the world. So when Bhaktisiddhanta ji said, You're an educated young man. Take Lord Chaitanya's teachings to the Western world. And Prabhupada said, now first we should make our country India independent. But in the end, Prabhupada was defeated by the Guru Maharaj. So Prabhupada in the purport is saying that our own practical experience is that we met our spiritual master only for a few minutes. The Prabhupada met his spiritual master for 4 or 5 or 6 times in his whole life. That's all. But he took his Vani to heart. And because he took his Vani to heart, he meditated on his Vani. The genuine saint manifests himself in 2 ways, Vapu and Vani. Vapu means the form. And Vapu is temporary. Vani is permanent. Spiritual masters come, sadhus come, and over time they disappear. But the Vani remains. So, in the purport Prabhupada is saying, we met a great soul, and we met him only a few times, but he planted in us the firm seed of Krishna consciousness. So, meeting a sadhu, and in the previous verse it is explained what is a sadhu. Sadhu doesn't mean just anybody who wears a spiritual uniform. Sadhu means one who has the qualities of a sadhu. Sitikshva karunikaha, suda sarva dhena. Ajita sarva santa, sadhu sadhu bhushana. Lord Kapila explained to his mother, a sadhu must be very tolerant. Sitikshva. Tolerance is very necessary for spiritual advancement. That's why Lord Chaitanya, in his famous Sikshasaka shloka, what did he say? Tinadapi sunichena, rorapi saita, manina manalena, ketinadi sarari. He says, be extremely tolerant. This is actually a big challenge for all of us, to be tolerant. Because our egos are so strong, we can't remain tolerant. But Lord Chaitanya says, if you want to do the love of God, Kitanadi Sada Hari, if you want to be in a position to chant the holy names all the time, then you must be tolerant. And more tolerant than a tree. Tree is so tolerant. Tree is there to protect you in all situations. But we're more tolerant than a tree. What else? More tolerant than a tree. And don't amanina manalena. Offer respects without expecting anything in return. One of the biggest challenges for a spiritualist is to renounce pratishtha, to renounce the desire to be glorified. Sometimes we say, well, I'm so renounced, I chant 30 rounds a day, but I want pratishtha. Look at it, brahmachari. He chants 30 rounds a day. Then you want honor. I should be honored that I was a leading book distributor. Or if I don't get honored, I'm not going to do it anymore. So in the scripture it is said, pratishtha is like the stool of a hog. Nobody likes carrying a stool. So pratishtha, or the desire to be honored, which is very deep in everyone, is a major obstacle on the path of chanting the holy name. So we have to be immortal on a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to everyone. But also we need to give up pratishtha. Pratishtha is our enemy. That is the desire for recognition, the desire for fame, the desire for glorification. They all come in the category of pratishtha. And pratishtha is a stumbling block on the path of spiritual advancement. So, we want to chant the holy name, which is the essence of all the scriptures. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Prakashananda Saraswati, he explained that the summary of the Vedas, the essence of the Vedic knowledge is what? Kale dose nene rajan asti eka mahaguna. Kirtana deva Krishna se mukta sanghasa paramita. The summary of all the scriptures is that in this age, the chanting of the holy name is the prime medium. And if we want to establish, if we want to take advantage of the holy name, then we have to develop the mood of humility. And especially renounce pratishtha. This desire that I'm the best. I want everyone to be fully loyal to me. Everyone should do only what I say. These are all different shades of pratishtha. And this pratishtha is your greatest enemy. And the scriptures say pratishtha is compared to the stool of a horse. So pratishtha has to be given up. And pratishtha can only be given up by pure chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And if we have a desire, I don't want name, I don't want fame, I don't want pratishtha, then you'll be able to make spiritual advancement. So, in the purport, Prabhupada makes another very important point. Want to hear that? I'll read Prabhupada's purport. The whole world is evolving under the bodily conception. Therefore, there must be devotees all over the world to deliver people from the false bodily conception of life and fully engage them in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport, the whole world is suffering. Prabhupada is not talking just about India. He's saying the whole world is full of ignorant people. So we need devotees all over the world who will go and preach. And devotees do that. Yesterday I was talking to Amrish Maharaj. You know Amrish Maharaj from Russia. And he's probably listening to the class, translating the class in Russia. So he told me that in Russia, Russia also had this exposure to virus and all that. But in Russia, there's southern Russia, which is like Kashmir, very good climate and very healthy climate and so on. So now because in Russia and like in every country, you can't travel abroad. You have to stay within your country. So all the Russians are going to South Russia. And our devotees have gone there and they're distributing 600, 700 books every day. And they're doing Harinam in this atmosphere. They're doing Harinam and they're doing book distribution. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport that people are in illusion all over the world. So you need people all over the world to preach the Kṛṣṇa conscious message. So we should not get defeated by the virus. Some of us may be thinking, oh, now what's the use? Our temple is fully open. We can't go on the streets for book distribution. So maybe time is preventing us to do some activities that we would normally love to do. So we have to be patient. We have to be patient because we don't want all of you to fall sick or any of you to fall sick. So we have to be careful. The Prabhupada is saying, people are in illusion all over the world. Will you hear that again? Prabhupada's words. The whole world is evolving under the bodily conception. Therefore, there must be devotees all over the world to deliver people from the false bodily conception, fully engage them in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So, we need people all over the world. And by Prabhupada's mercy, we have people all over the world. Every time we the holy name will spread. So we have to be enthusiastic to preach. We should not get discouraged. Some devotees may be thinking, oh, what's the use of staying in Delhi? We'll go and stay in Vrindavan, chant holy name. No, there are opportunities for preaching. At least 1,000 people are coming to the temple every day. We should think how we can preach a little bit. And Krishna will be pleased. And hopefully, as the situation improves, we can expand the preaching everywhere. We should have this preaching mood. And we should have the mood, I don't want pratishtha, I don't want honor. These are all like stool. And the great sages have condemned it. So that should be our mood. In other words, we should have the mood of humility, and that will help us to chant the holy name. So to summarize the verse, King Jat Bharat is concluding his instructions, and he is acknowledging how King Raghunath got enlightened. And just like how King Raghunath got enlightened, Prabhupada enlightened so many. Through these books, so many people are getting enlightened. And we should have the preaching spirit so that we can go on preaching and enlightening people. Just like Raghunath got enlightened, we can enlighten many people. So we need the enthusiasm to preach the holy name, chant the holy name. If you chant the holy name sincerely, attentively, then this chanting will help you remove, eliminate your anarthas, including pratishtha, which is our biggest enemy. Hare Krishna. I can take on questions. Questions can be in English or Hindi, both. Any question? Is someone taking questions online? Huh? Yeah.
I have a question that how can we judge ourselves that our chanting is pure? As you mentioned that we should have pure chanting. And one other question is that how can we judge ourselves that we are enhancing devotional life? Because it's a public situation that we are alone in our home, our basis. So how can we judge ourselves?
Let's go one by one. What's your first question?
First question is how can we judge ourselves that our chanting is pure chanting?
You can see, are you getting attached to the holy name? You can see you desire to chant all the time. You only chant when somebody stands with a danda next to you. And take help of an advanced devotee to see. You can't judge everything yourself. One of the problems is we want to judge everything ourselves. Your mind will always cheat you. So take the help of some unmotivated advanced devotee. Not that I'm motivated and come to me for advice. And take help of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. What was your second question?
Second question is how can we judge ourselves that enhancing devotional life?
See, am I getting a taste for the holy name? See, do I like associating with sadhu? See, do I like doing seva? Ultimately, when you chant the Hare Krishna mantra, you're praying to the Lord, please engage me, please engage me, please engage me. So that desire to engage in service, to be something spontaneous, not that when somebody's standing with a stick on your head, you'll do seva, otherwise you'll go to sleep. Yeah?
Hare Krishna Gopal, can you please elaborate on how the Krishna is equal to the stool?
Just like nobody likes carrying stool. Does anybody like carrying stool? Nobody likes to carry stool. So pratishtha is a heavy burden. And this example is given by the sages, not me. Raghunath Goswami says, this pratishtha and the desire for name, fame, is compared to the stool of a hall. In other words, nobody likes to carry stool, nobody likes sitting next to a stool, So this desire for honor is a liability. It's not something that we can be proud of. I'm proud that I have pratishtha. No, there's nothing to be proud of.
Another question. Hare Krishna Maharaj, sometimes we have to accept respect while teaching to the devotees. How to overcome the tendency to be proud?
We don't say don't respect senior devotees. We don't say don't respect even junior devotees. We should respect everyone. That is, we respect. It's not that somebody is new devotee, junior devotee, we shout at him, we make him work like a coolie. No, we don't say that. Respect everyone, junior and senior. What was the question?
While teaching to the devotees, we get respect. So how to overcome proud?
So if we are giving you respect, think that I'm accepting this request on behalf of the Guru and the Parampara. Just like a spiritual master. A spiritual master sits on a seat, people come and give him garlands, people give him such fake glorification sometimes, but the spiritual master has to accept it. But he accepts it just on behalf of his Guru and the Parampara and the Lord. So the spiritual master is thinking, Sakshat Hari Tena Samasta Shastra. I am now equal to Krishna. See, I've got promoted so fast. Then he'll be in illusion. You must understand, just like people give us donation. When they give us donation, we should not think, oh, this is dakshina because he liked my lecture. We should think that he's giving dakshina on behalf of, so let me accept it on behalf of the Lord and give it to the Lord. But if I think I did some chamatkar and I got this dakshina, then even the Guru is an illusion. The Guru should know. Bhakti Siddhanta said, he never thinks, when we sit on the Vyasasana, we should never think this Vyasasana is due to my effort. We should always think, I'm accepting this on behalf of the Parampara and my spiritual master. Then you'll have no attachment. Yeah? Yes.
First question is you talked about Pratishtha and Amadina Mahamyaka, but we see in temples devotees able to occupy authority position and diplomacy. So
Applying authority, okay, good question. Applying or wanting to become an authority doesn't mean you want pratishtha. Because to run the movement, you also need responsible people. Whenever Prabhupada, when we were joining, Prabhupada would see, he would give the devotees responsibility. If I say, no, I don't want any responsibility, because I'll get proud, that is not a good sign of surrender. We take the responsibility, temple president, GBC or whatever, on behalf of Prabhupada and the Parampara, in a mood of detachment. This is seva that I'm rendering to expand the movement. If nobody takes responsibility, then how will the movement spread? Isn't it? So we want the movement to spread. If we want the movement to spread, we need people to take responsibility. You know, when a child is young, he's sucking his thumb. You can't let the baby suck the thumb all the life. You have to grow up.
और ये जो टेम्पल से कर्मचारी का क्वेश्चन है कि कुछ डिवोटीज क्या होता है कि थोड़ी सेवा करते हैं तो बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेज चाहिए, उनको तारीफ चाहिए, तो हम लोग उनको करते भी हैं बीइंग एज ए फैसिलिटेटर, क्योंकि नहीं तो उनको प्राउड हो जाएगा तो क्या करना चाहिए कि वो
हम क्या
उनको प्राउड फील होगा अगर हम थोड़ी सी सेवा पर बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेस करेंगे, पर वो लोग चाहते हैं कि थोड़ी सेवा करें फिर भी बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेस किया जाए।
उनको आप कह सकते हो इतनी ज़्यादा प्रेस की उम्मीद करोगे तो भक्ति का कम लाभ मिलेगा, कम कृपा मिलेगी। ओ कम कृपा चाहिए या अधिक कृपा चाहिए? या जैसा कृष्ण से छात्रों विदा भुजन माम, लोग मेरे पास आते हैं चार कारण। एक जिसको धन चाहिए, दूसरा जो रोगी है, तीसरा जो जिज्ञासु है, चौथा से ज्ञानी। सब के सब पुण्यात्मा हैं क्योंकि कम से कम मेरे पास तो आ रहे हैं। पर इन सब में सर्वश्रेष्ठ कौन है? तो निष्काम भाव से मेरे शरण में आता है। तो कृष्ण से हम सब एकदम निष्काम भाव से आओगे तो ये लाभ मिलेगा, साकाम भाव से आओगे तो कृष्ण भक्त निष्काम आते वो शांता मुक्ति मुक्ति सिद्धि कामी सकामी अशांता। इट इज वेरी क्लियरली स्टेटेड इन द स्क्रिप्चर। निष्काम भाव से करो या साकाम भाव से। यस
when we work in a corporate world, there is a tendency that we have already defined schedules, these many tasks to be executed, etc. And when we come into spiritual life also, because of responsibilities, we try to plan things and get organized. But at the same time, often what happens is there are many critical services that come up all of a sudden. One thing is that it has to be done, it will be done. But when somebody comes in and gives us a service, how do we maintain a mood of service attitude rather than, oh no, not another distraction from my schedule?
I'm sorry. Can you clarify the question? Okay.
I was saying, that we have a tendency when we used to work in the outside world, we tend to organize our schedules and work.
We are better organized.
Yeah. And when we come in here, there is temple and there are a lot of tasks that just blow up on your face all of a sudden. And when somebody tells you something, how does one maintain the mood of service attitude rather than saying, I'm too busy right now?
समझ गया। कई बार अप्लाइन हिंदी पर, कई बार आप जब सेवा में आते हो और मंदिर के अधिकारी देखते हैं आप में कई गुण हैं तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा सेवा मिल जाती है। तो फिर आप कहते हो देखा वही शराफत का फ़ायदा उठा रहे हैं, क्योंकि हम कुछ बोलते नहीं हैं तो हमें दिन ब दिन ज़्यादा सेवा देते जाते हैं। वो ये नहीं जानते जितनी ज़्यादा सेवा करोगे उतनी ज़्यादा भगवान की कृपा मिलेगी। वो कई भक्त एक्सपर्ट हो जाते हैं, बोलना नहीं चाहिए, सेवा चोर हो जाते हैं। मतलब कि वो कला सीख गए हैं कैसे सेवा से बचना, कैसे मंगल आरती में नहीं आएंगे और किसको पता नहीं लगेगा, क्लास में नहीं आएंगे और पता नहीं लगेगा। तो ऐसे वक्त ये नहीं सोचते कि इससे उनका ही नुकसान है। और जो भक्त कठिन स्थिति में सेवा कर रहे हैं, जिम्मेदारी ले रहे हैं, उन्हें भगवान की ज़्यादा कृपा मिलेगी। हम आपको धोखा दे सकते हैं, आप मुझे धोखा दे सकते हो, भगवान को कोई धोखा दे सकते हैं। Just keep that in mind. So if you get the chance to do more service, you are fortunate, not unfortunate. Okay? Any more? Yes. So वहाँ से क्वेश्चन फिर आपके पास।
शास्त्र में लिखा है 50 साल के बाद संन्यास आश्रम में मानव साधन ले लेना चाहिए। तो मेरे ऊपर 4 साल की हो गई महाराज जी से, तो मैं मानव में जाना चाहता हूँ, मैं उसमें जाना चाहता हूँ। तो उसमें मैं सब भक्तों से प्रार्थना करता हूँ, आप चरणों में रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, जो ऑनलाइन सुन रहे हैं उनसे रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, मेरे प्रार्थना करते जल्दी उसमें मानव में जाना बेस्ट होगा।
आप इस वक्त घर में रहते हो पत्नी और बच्चों के साथ, उनकी इजाज़त भी लेनी पड़ेगी। भक्तों की इजाज़त से काम नहीं चलेगा। भक्त कह देंगे आओ आओ आओ, तो पत्नी कहेगी हमें रोटी कपड़ा कौन देगा, तो रोटी रोटी कपड़े का प्रबंध करना पड़ेगा। कर दिया है आपने? हाँ, फिर अलग बात है। तो पर उनकी इजाज़त भी लेना पड़ेगा। ऐसा hands up, yeah.
Krishna Guru, recently I started serving in Vishnu department. It sometimes happens that people come and make some donation. So Maharaj, just to be safer side, I want to know that what are the consequences that one faces when one keeps that money that has been given from the Lord for his own sense gratification and not giving to the temple, because it might happen to me in future, because I've just started this service, so I want to know.
Somebody gives you money for the temple, and your question is, you keep the money yourself and don't give it to the temple, then what is the consequence? Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
अगर कोई व्यक्ति चंदा देता है भगवान के लिए तो हमें मंदिर में देना चाहिए, और जो ब्रह्मचारी मंदिर में रहते हैं उन्हें बिल्कुल संतुष्ट रहना चाहिए, ये विश्वास रखना चाहिए जो भी उनकी आवश्यकता है वो मंदिर से जरूर प्राप्त होगी। तो इन्हें कोई दान दे रहा है तो हम हाँ ये अच्छा, मुझे नोट मिला है मोहन रखा का, हमारे प्रमोशन है। हाँ लेता हूँ क्वेश्चन 2 मिनट में। हमारे एक भक्त थे मनमोहन श्याम प्रभु, इनका नाम था सतीजा जी, जो लगभग जीसीसी के चेयरमैन भी थे और उन्होंने बहुत सेवा की, बहुत सेवा करते थे और फिर दीक्षा भी ली थी, 16 माला भी कर रहे थे। और सुबह से खास करके जब जन्माष्टमी उत्सव होता था जब तो बहुत ज़्यादा सेवा करते थे और कई साल 15-20 सालों से सेवा की। क्या उम्र थी उनकी? मेरे पास वो कुछ दिन पहले आप उनके घर भी गए थे, ये 82 ईयर्स ओल्ड, उन्होंने शरीर त्यागा। तो वो सेवा करते थे, चंदा इकट्ठा करते थे, हर प्रकार की सेवा और सुबह से रात तक। तो कुछ दिन पहले उन्होंने शरीर त्यागा और पिछले 2 सालों से उनकी तबीयत इतनी अच्छी नहीं थी। खैर उन्होंने अपने जीवन भगवान की सेवा में उपयोग किया है। जब आप भी करते थे, मंदिर को दान भी देते थे, दान इकट्ठा भी करते थे और इट विल वेरी हार्ड टू रिप्लेस हिम। पर हमें पूरा विश्वास है उनकी सेवा के आधार पर भगवान उनकी सुरक्षा कर रहे हैं। मनमोहन श्याम प्रभु की। You want to say something? You want to say about one more? You want to say something more? Oh.
Hare Krishna.
हाँ जी, हाँ ब्रजेश।
एक सिद्धांत है कि जो अपनी कन्या है, अपनी जो कमी होती है अपने को पता नहीं चलती, तो चाणक्य अपनी कन्या हमेशा दूसरों से पता चलती है। तो अगर दूसरे को पता चल जाता है तो उसको करेक्ट करना चाहिए, मतलब ये नहीं हो पा रहा है। अगर किसी को बोलो कि तुम्हारे अंदर कमी, तो दुश्मन बन जाता है। ऐसे कैसे किया जाए?
इस विषय की चर्चा पिछले इतवार को हमने की थी। कोई भक्त, खास करके कोई सीनियर भक्त कहे कि आप में ये कमी है, इसका सुधार होना चाहिए, हमें तो उसका आभार प्रकट करना चाहिए। और मैंने ये कहा था पिछले हफ्ते, भक्ति सिद्धांत जी कहते थे कोई व्यक्ति केवल तुम्हारी तारीफ करे तो हमें घबरा जाना चाहिए। पर इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि हम भक्तों की प्रशंसा नहीं करते। जो भक्त अच्छी सेवा करते हैं उनकी प्रशंसा भी करते हैं, पर हमें ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए जैसे हमारी प्रशंसा होनी चाहिए या हमें इतना आदर मिलना चाहिए। क्या है वो अधिवक्ता आचार्य?
हरे कृष्ण। हरे कृष्ण महाराज।
यस।
ये गुजरात से नागेश्वर प्रभु है, उनका प्रश्न है।
हाँ।
वो कह रहे हैं कि कई बार वो बड़ी बड़ी सेलिब्रिटीज से मिलते हैं और उनको भगवत गीता जब देते हैं, जैसे विराट कोहली, महेंद्र सिंह धोनी, अमिताभ बच्चन ने सबको दिया और वो अपने ही पैसों से खरीदते हैं। लेकिन कई भक्त जिससे कि स्वामी का काफी नाम होता है, तो लेकिन वो उनका प्रश्न ये है कि कई लोग जो है इस चीज को बहुत मतलब पॉजिटिवली नहीं लेते और उनको डांट पड़ती है कि आप कौन ऐसे लोगों से आते हैं, ये सही नहीं है। तो दूसरे क्या करना चाहिए?
हाँ, आप जो कर रहे हो रामेश्वर प्रभु, आप ठीक कर रहे हो। रामेश्वर प्रभु, ये राजकोट में क्रिकेट मैच होते हैं, वो हम पहुँच जाते हैं और सब खिलाड़ियों से दोस्ती बनाते हैं और फिर उनसे नहीं, भगवान ने कईयों को पोजीशन ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस दिया है, उनको लाभ उठाने दो भगवान की सेवा में। यस, we have a few minutes here.
While we check the 16 verse Hare Krishna Maharaja, no matter I try very hard while chanting to hear the holy name Maharaj, but it's never possible Maharaj. I just end up hearing the one word in one mantra. So Maharaj, for me it's very difficult to hear all the 16 words in one mantra while we chant. So Maharaj, I try very hard, so I never can one.
Try again, you will succeed at last. Okay. You heard that before? Try again, you will succeed at last. So keep trying. Okay. Yeah. Yes, wonderful. Wonderful Prabhupada. Right? The question from Washington.
Devotees know that marriage is enemy, but still they don't want to use of Krishna. So what is the solution? धन जो है शत्रु है, लेकिन फिर वो भगवान की सेवा में नहीं लगाना चाहते।
Run.
तो उसका solution
If you have wealth and you don't want to use it in the service of Krishna, then you will take on all the karma that has gone in producing that wealth. Even when you drive your car for 1 minute on the road, you kill so many insects. So the wealth that we earn, we commit so many sins to earn that wealth. And just like if you pay your income tax, then you don't have to worry. If you give your Lakshmi to Krishna, then you don't have to worry. But if you want to keep the Lakshmi in your pocket, okay, then Krishna says, I'll charge you full tax. Then you have to pay tax. What is that tax? Janma Maran ka bandhan. Take birth again as an ant or something else based on your activity. Nothing is karma free. होता है ना शुगर फ्री, ये फ्री, वो फ्री। आप सोचते हो कि ये कर्मा फ्री है। Nothing is karma free. All our activities are being watched by sun god, moon god, stars, thousands of demigods. So you cannot escape. Okay, we'll have to stop soon. Yes, you. Yes, please do.
अभी कल परसों ही जो है हमें दर्शन हुआ बहुत ही ऑफिसर थे बख्शीदास बाबा महाराज से वेरी ऑफिसर थे इन द बॉडी और सबके लिए बहुत ही अच्छे एग्जाम्पल थे अपने हमेशा का एग्जाम्पल देते थे कि कई भक्तों का वो अकेले सेवा करते थे वर्क वेरी वेरी हार्ड and he was the first person to organize and Lord Jagannath Satyatra from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan.
I thought that was Pranab Das. Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. Okay.
And also used to help us with the festival, the Janmashtami हो गया, रथ यात्रा हो गया, जितने भी फेस्टिवल इतने एक्टिव होते थे वो
और अगर उनसे पूछते थे इन्विटेशन कार्ड बना रहे थे, वो क्या करते थे, खुद लेकर आते थे गाड़ी, इसमें आते थे वो रूम में आते थे। He was so humble, down to earth, and बहुत उन्होंने honestly, sincerely, was very hardworking person. उन्होंने old age में भी inspired us to help all of us. जहाँ तक उसे possible हो पाया, उन्होंने end तक लाला पार्षद की सेवा की है, और हम लाला पार्षद जी से सबसे प्रार्थना करते हैं उसको सदगति प्राप्त हो भगवान के चरणों में। हरे कृष्ण।
एक प्रश्न है कि भोजन होने का पैसा हम भगवान की सेवा में लगा सकते हैं?
इसका
चीटिंग, रिश्वत वाला
in the material world, our principle is everything used in Krishna's service is white, everything else is black. हाँ, जो भगवान की सेवा में ध्यान लगाओगे, that is correct, that is white. Okay. मधुसूदन, आप बोलना चाहते हैं बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के बारे में? मधुसूदन तंग आ रहा है क्योंकि अभी सड़क में जा नहीं सकते। आप लोग क्या करो, अगर आप बाहर नहीं भी जा सकते, मंदिर में प्रचार कर सकते हो, और भक्ति के मार्ग में आप लोग अगर मन में सेवा करो, उसका भी लाभ मिलता है। तो आप लोग सोच लो कि आज हम बाहर गए, 500 गीता बांट के आ गए, कम से कम आपके मन में तो रहेगा। हाँ, ओके, बोलिए।
तो जैसे अभी लॉकडाउन चल रहा है, तो उससे नहीं होगा। गुरु महाराज कि यहाँ पर बहुत लोग आते हैं, अब ट्राई करेंगे। तो अभी हमारे तो नया स्टॉल आ रहा है, तो डेली 2 दिन है, तो 50 से 200 जो है अनुकूल नहीं होती है, लेकिन अगर प्रयास करें तो कुछ न कुछ कर सकते हैं। और भाई लोग हैं हमारा हम बाहर भी जाना चाहते हैं, जैसे अमेरिका में जो हमारे गुरु भाई हैं, तो वो भी प्रचार करना चाहते हैं, और वो पार्टनर्स और उसमें करते हैं। तो बता रहे थे कि डेली 100 या 120 हज़ार ऐसे हालत में, और वो जो बुक्स लेने आता है, सैंडल्स करते हैं, पैसे वो बैग में लाते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी वो करते हैं। अगर पुलिस वाले कहीं मुझे समस्या करते हैं तो वो पार्टी छोड़ कर दूसरी पार्टी में जाते हैं, लेकिन ऐसी परिस्थिति को प्रचार करते हैं। तो अगर हमारा उत्साह हो तो कहीं से भी रास्ता नहीं होता है, तो गुरु महाराज के लिए कोई भी नहीं सकते।
वैसे मैं आपसे भाग्यशाली होगी, आपके मंदिर खुल गया है। बॉम्बे में वो उम्मीद नहीं कर रहे कि अगस्त के आखिर तक खुलेगा। बाकी भारत के कई शहर हैं जहाँ ये वायरस इतना फैला हुआ है कि हमारे मंदिर खोलना नहीं चाहते। तो मुंबई मंदिर अभी भी बंद है, और कहते हैं जन्माष्टमी तक भी शायद बंद रहेगा। तो इसी प्रकार से राधा पार्षद साथी की खास कृपा हुई है कि आप उधर खुला है। आप सबको ये नियम का पालन करना चाहिए। मास्क, you know the rules, tell them what the rules are. You should wear a mask, everyone, huh?
Yes.
What else?
That's all. We have to sanitize every entry gate. Guards sanitize them and they will come here with a mask. But the middle place is there. First, something about book distribution.
No.
No, just
Shit.
one point.
Well,
हरे कृष्णा। तो जैसे कि बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की बात शुरू हो ही गई है, तो के माध्यम से महाराज से बन गया। तो भद्र पूर्णिमा में जो हम लोग कैंपेन शुरू किया था, भक्तिवेदांत सेट, अभी 1-2 साल पहले शुद्ध भागवत सेट्स के लिए, और उसमें कई टेम्पल्स एक्टिव हो चुके हैं, ऑलरेडी स्टार्ट कर चुके हैं। हमने भी एक उसमें व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप क्रिएट किया है और उसमें हमारे लीडर्स हैं आसपास, वो ऑलरेडी स्टार्ट कर चुके हैं और टारगेट्स में लेना शुरू कर दिया। ऑनलाइन भागवत सेशन करने का प्रोग्राम हो रहा है और इसमें मायापुर में आज सबको खुशी होगी। पूरे साल में उन्होंने ब्लेस किया था फॉर द भागवत सेट्स ऑनलाइन सर्विस शुरू हो गया। तो हम लोग थोड़ा सा इंटेलिजेंस यूज करना पड़ेगा और उसमें क्या है थोड़ा सा मेहनत ज़्यादा लगेगा, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं आपको और वो भी शुरू करके जो है प्लेस कर दिया है कि 50 भागवत सेट्स पक्का 100% करेंगे। तो इस तरह से हम लोग प्रमोट कर सकते हैं, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑनलाइन कर सकते हैं। EMI का स्कीम है, मैं लास्ट टाइम बताया था आपको बैंक का, उससे आप अगर एक साल नहीं कर सकते तो मंथली पेमेंट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि बहुत ही नॉमिनल है, मुझे को 250 रुपये 300 रुपये कुछ है और उसको आप 2 साल में कवर कर सकते हैं भागवत से आपका। अब वो भागवत से मिल जाएगा, लेकिन वो आप इंस्टॉलमेंट्स में दे पाएंगे। मैं EMI स्कीम को उसको भी आपको लोग करवा दें जो सीधा कैश ऑन पेमेंट करना चाहते हैं वो भी ले सकते हैं। तो इस तरह से भद्रा पूर्णिमा कैंपेन और ये भद्र मास की पूर्णिमा तक के चलेगा और अभी से हमें स्टार्ट करती है। तो इसके बारे में और जानकारी आप बात करना चाहते हैं तो हमारे महाभद्र जो है मैनेज करते हैं, उनसे आप संपर्क कर सकते हैं या फिर सर्वप्रिय रूप से भी आप पूछ सकते हैं डिटेल्स। ठीक है, हरे कृष्ण।
अमेरिका के कई शहरों में बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इस स्थिति में वो बेडबल हो गई है। ये सारे भक्त अभी ऑनलाइन बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कर रहे हैं, वो तो कह रहे हैं दिस इज अ ब्लेसिंग, ऑनलाइन ज़्यादा बिक्री है। तो आप सब भी उत्साहित होना स्टॉप करो।
प्रश्न है, इतनी सारी सेवा होता है तो हम रीडिंग और हेडिंग हम कैसे बैलेंस करें?
एक दिन में 24 घंटे होते हैं, कितने घंटे? तो अगर रीडिंग करना है मान लो 2 घंटा, चैंटिंग करना है और 2 घंटा, बाकी प्रसाद वगैरह खाना है और 1 घंटा 2 घंटा, विश्राम करना है 6-7 घंटे, कितने घंटे बच गए? जब भी आपके पास सेवा के लिए बहुत समय है। तो जो सेवा करना चाहें उनके लिए 24 घंटे तो बहुत ज़्यादा है, और सेवा जो नहीं करना चाहें उनके 24 घंटे बहुत कम है। वो कहेंगे हम 2 दिन की सेवा 1 दिन में करेंगे। ओके, मेरा स्टॉप। यस, बोलिए जल्दी अभी खत्म। As compared to the school.
So actually, how to realize this knowledge and get it imbibed in our hearts so that we understand this Krishna, we should not pray for any seva or any service for.
By hearing. Therefore, you should come to class, read the books. By hearing, associating with the devotees, you get knowledge. How did King Raghunatha get knowledge? King Raghunatha को ज्ञान मिला जब भारत की संगत के कारण। We can also get knowledge by associating with sadhus.
Yes, we are hearing also and we are reading the scriptures also, but I am not able to see any improvement in myself. Like I know that this Krishna is very dangerous.
No, the very fact that you are interested in eliminating this shows you are sincere. So you are making advancement.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare